up on this week's show, Mario lands on the Dreamcast.
A new portable TV made for retro gaming.
And turn your Commodore disk drive into a computer.
And the Retro Hour podcast is brought to you every Friday with our sponsor, our amazing friends at Bitmap Books. Now, one of their books that dropped just in the last few months, if you haven't checked this out, you definitely need to. The Games of a Lifetime, brought to you by legendary games journalist Julian Jazz Rignall. Now, he's been a journalist and worked in the industry for coming up on 5 decades. And this book is all about that journey, but it isn't an autobiography, it's not an encyclopedia of the best games. It's basically a journey through, to him, what are the most important gaming events and experiences during that time, from Pong to the 8 and 16-bit computer revolutions, the European consoles, across the millennium, all the way to the modern age as well. If you haven't checked it out, have a look at it, and the rest of their retro gaming collection, you can find it at bitmapbooks.com. And with our friends at Replay Events. Now, they're bringing back the UK's biggest retro games market to Leeds in just a couple of weeks' time on Sunday, the 8th of February. Going to be happening at the Royal Armouries Museum, a massive venue that's going to be filled with nothing but video games and merchandise. Thousands of gamers and fellow collectors eager to find a bargain. Doors open at 10:30 a.m. and you can get your tickets right now at leedsgamingmarket.com. Hello and welcome to the Retro Hour podcast, episode number 515, your weekly dose of retro gaming and technology news with me, Dan Wood.
Me, Ravi Abbott.
And me, Joe Fox.
And a very warm welcome to this week's show, the podcast that lands every single Friday, and that brings you up to speed on all the big stories from the wonderful world of retro gaming and technology, and welcomes the veterans of the industry onto the show for an interview every single week. And I think I speak for us all when I say I'm still on a bit of a high after last week's massive podcast that we did with the legend that is Norman Cook, aka Fatboy Slim.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really nice reaching a new audience as well. Seeing lots of people who haven't heard about the podcast before come on, and we've done quite a few episodes with like DJs and music producers and stuff. We've had the Utah Saints on, Paul Hartnell from Orbital as well, and it's quite a nice little niche, isn't it? Music technology and the kind of retro connection. And it's really nice to have Norman Cook come on the show. Yeah. And thanks so much for doing that.
Yeah, all the comments we got from people going, I thought it was going to be just an episode about his music then. He was on. What? Mind blown. Well done for organising that, Ravi. And thank you, Norman, for coming on. Incredible interview. So if you are new to the podcast, maybe you just discovered us in the last week. We do this every single Friday. Audio podcast, and there's a video version as well on YouTube. So either way, we bring you up to speed on what's been happening in retro gaming and tech from over the last week, and guests on the podcast each week. If you did join us for the first time last week, though, you might have got caught out by something that happened on last week's show that I've got a feeling we do need to address, because obviously probably one of the biggest podcasts we've done for a while. A-list guest on the show. Wanted it to be flawless, didn't we, last week?
Yeah.
I'm sitting in Costa Coffee in my village with my laptop looking like a hipster. Ravi messages me, we're getting a few weird messages about the podcast. People saying there's some glitch with it. I'm like, it can't be that bad. You guys haven't heard it yet, have you?
I heard the glitch for a second, and then I was like, quick, message Dan, but I'd not heard the full length of it.
For those that didn't hear it, like you guys, let's have a little listen back to what happened last week.
Brighton pirate radio station. It's really good because I've seen lots of it. Everything if you've given it everything, 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 if you've given it.
Now we did get a few messages of people saying
if you've given it everything, if you've given it everything, if you've given it everything.
They thought that was a bit of a joke because we had Fatboy Slim on last week. They thought, we've sampled Ravi and we've looped him, and then they realised when it went on for about 3 minutes that it probably wasn't intentional.
It's quite a good like sentence to have looped as well, isn't it? Like,
I tried it. Take that. Works well.
You need in the middle of it, me just going, hello!
Yeah, it's when Joe had a problem once and didn't think we could hear him and I left that in. So it works as tech. No, wait, what about synth? Works quite well.
Oh my god.
Bit of bass line? Time stretch?
Dan spent far too much time on this.
Let's have had a busy weekend. That could be the new big sound. You know, like the Amen break is a thing that all dance music producers.
Yeah.
We should send that to Calvin Harris and Joel Corey. That could be huge.
Well, yeah, I think we fixed it now, though. So what actually happened was it was...
We don't know.
It was when we put that episode out, and we put a lot out, and, we'd never had these mad loops before. Typical that it came in on this episode. But then on the RSS feed, what we can actually do is put it out again. So Dan put out a fixed version, and if you have that on the original one, I think you delete the old episode and then re-download it. So that's kind of fixed, and it should seamlessly be done. But I had so many people contact me and say, "Is my podcast app broken?" Or something?
Just to clarify, it wasn't intentional, but fingers crossed it won't happen again.
And now we've got some more sound effects now for the show as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
which always seems to involve me, Dan.
Back, isn't it? Now?
Now we have, speaking of audio, we got another guest this week from the world of audio, someone who's a bit more closely related to the world of video games.
Yeah, we got Sean Baptiste, and this one's a really, really interesting interview. I think Joe absolutely shined on this one because this was his area, rock and roll.
He always shines like a star.
Oh, boy.
We did this interview together. So Sean Baptiste, originally he was into amplitude and frequency, which was one of these early titles before kind of Guitar Hero kicked off. One of these music rhythm kind of games, and it had a really strong community around it. He was managing the forums, kind of engaging with that community back then when a lot of people weren't engaging with communities. And then he went on to Rock Band, which it's really interesting because it's one of the world's biggest video game accessories. You got a whole band, didn't you? Essentially, all the instruments.
So, he was with the original Guitar Hero. And then when we go into the story of it in the interview, but then he moved with the guys who then did Rock Band, and basically he was the what was really cool. He was the community manager, as you say. He was doing all the forums and everything, but he was also the guy who would go on tour with Rock Band, basically.
Yeah, like a rock tour, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he'd go around with a van,
with a bus, and basically they'd set up, and he did all the MTV Awards and all sorts of big shows. And interestingly, it was a small world. In Download Festival 2008, they were there, and I remember going to the stand and playing it. And he was like, unfortunately, he wasn't actually at that one. Which I thought that would have been quite a funny story.
Yeah,
that, I'd actually visited one he was at, but
it was interesting because Red Octane developed Guitar Hero. So the guys who were originally making the controllers and accessories actually didn't develop it, and then it came back home. So then they got Rock Band and really got into that, got their teeth into it. And I spoke to him, and when Rock Band came out, it felt that Guitar Hero had kind of had its day. And then there was this second wave, of kind of exploration and all the add-ons, of course. So famously, the Beatles one, which we cover, and we talk about, Yoko Ono going around the studio, them chatting with George Harrison's son as well. He played guitar with him. So some really interesting connections here.
Yeah, so looking forward to this one, going inside the world of Rock Band with Sean Baptiste, our special guest on the show this week. If you've got the audio podcast, it'll be coming up in part 2. If you're watching on YouTube, that video will land on Monday. A little reminder as well, we do the Patron Supercut every week as well, all of it crammed together. Patrons get that over the weekend and before video version of the news and the interview as well. Ad-free, bunch of extra news stories in there as well. So if you want to join our Patreon, all the details at theretrohour.com. Big thank you as well to everyone who's congratulated me on my new job. I didn't mention that I was in Costa on a Friday.
I thought you were working in Costa.
Yeah.
You're now a barista. It's good to know.
Yeah, not working in, as doing my work in Costa Coffee. I was writing an article for The Escapist, which, as you'll know, very long running, used to be a magazine actually, gaming website, been going over 20 years now. I actually got an email from the editor, Paul McNally, and I thought, where do I know that name from? He used to be the editor of Amiga Action magazine back in the day.
Oh, nice.
So, I kind of bonded with him over that. And then he said, want to do some more retro gaming stuff? Fancy doing a weekly article for us? I'm doing something every Saturday now. So I did. My first one was all about retro gaming and AI. So,
controversial.
Yeah, quite a bit of debate for the first one. So I put them on the show notes. Want to have a read, and my new one will be out this weekend. Right then, let's get into this week's retro gaming and tech stories. Then, big one to start on this week, and just feel like every week we're reading headlines that kind of blow our tiny minds, things that we didn't think would have been possible back in the day. Mario 64 landing on a Sega system on the Dreamcast, and apparently even outshining the N64.
Yeah, this is a really, really cool little project. We've seen the decompilation of Mario 64, and that's meant that, we saw it on the PC recently. We've seen it started to appear in lots of different places. And this happened when Grand Theft Auto had the decompilation as well. We started seeing it popping out for lots of different systems. Well, it's popped out for the Dreamcast, but this version's actually been optimized and developed over several years. So it's by Mr. Neo, J.M. Martin 84 and Falco Gurgis. And this project is pretty cool because it supports a few things on the Dreamcast that you didn't get on the 64, and it's got quite a bit of an upgrade there. One is 480p, so you'd have your VGA out and that really crispy, clean 480p signal.
Have you ever played a Dreamcast via VGA?
I didn't. I remember going into Forbidden Planet. This is like long ago, and they had, when the Dreamcast just came out, and it was hooked up via VGA to a monitor, and I was like, that looks gorgeous. It's insane. And I know only certain games had VGA support.
I've got one behind me. I've got a 19-inch CRT. It's a beautiful, like, kind of flat screen CRT. Diamond from Mitsubishi. Yeah, hooked my Dreamcast up to that. Colours are just popping. It looks incredible. You're right, only certain games work on it. But yeah, if you haven't tried a Dreamcast on VGA, definitely worth a look. Looks beautiful on there.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying the colours are really popping on this one. And also, if it is this 480p out, you can also get converters for the Dreamcast. So then you can end up going into HDMI as well. And it's got none of that N64 Vaseline kind of blur on it, and it's running really high speeds as well. So the frame rate is very good on this, and it's kind of like you're getting that hardware upgrade because of the system that it's on and these extra bits of optimization and polish.
It's crazy when you look at it as well, because it's like, you've never seen Mario 64 look that sharp. You're right, I was looking at it thinking, why does it look so different? I think it is that, Ravi, isn't it? The fact that, you haven't got that blur of vision that you get on the N64.
Mario just looks really clean.
Yeah.
Like the actual kind of like, sprite. Well, he's not a sprite, but you know what I mean? Yeah. He just looks really sharp and clean. And it's like you look into the distance and nothing's blurry. So it does look really, really nice. It does make me laugh though. I sit there going, whoa, this game looks so much better. It's like, well, yeah, it is. It's on a more powerful console. But it's the fact that it's, as Ravi says, it's the the decompiled version. So it's the original source code, but then ported. So it's not any sort of emulation or anything like that. So you're not seeing any slowdown. Even when he becomes Metal Mario, when you get the metal hat, like Mario looks, he looks so good. It's the best he's ever looked. In 64, in the 64 version.
It's also meant to be incredibly easy to get it to run as well. So previously, you've had to take certain assets out of the original, put them in and all of this. This one, you just get an image of the Japanese or the US or international version, and then you put it in, and this builder extracts all the kind of data and creates a bootable Dreamcast image.
Nice.
So, you're not going through files and picking stuff out in different file formats. So that's a pretty cool way of doing it. And also, I hope that this will, hold the lawyers off.
Well, they're saying that on the GitHub page. It says, do not ask for a CDI or an ISO. Learn how to build it or don't play it. We're not getting sued by Nintendo just to make your life a bit easier, which is fair enough. Well, like you said, Ravi, looks really straightforward, and there is a full instruction guide on how to do it. And to me, it's quite cool to see this, because I always felt like... that day when Sonic Adventure came out on the GameCube, you really knew that Sega as a hardware manufacturer was done then. So it kind of feels like the Dreamcast, kind of Sega's revenge, if you like. The fact that we've got Mario 64 running nicely on a...
Yeah, and I think the Dreamcast is a very capable system as well. People kind of tend to forget about how powerful it was. I remember Bleemcast, where they'd get the PlayStation 1 games and then put them through Bleem, which would make them look better on the Dreamcast and, offer that kind of improvement.
Well, it's 128-bit, I think, isn't it, the Dreamcast? As we all know, bits are better. So, yeah, makes sense. That is available right now if you want to build it and play Mario 64 on your Dreamcast. Who'd have thought? Now, this next one I've seen everywhere this week. A few people have shared this with us on our Discord or Spotted as well. Thank you for that. Reminder, if you do see any news stories in the week, join our Discord server, ping them in there. We'll try and cover them on the podcast in a future episode. A lot of people have been quite excited about this. Now, this is a upcoming device called the RetroBox that they're saying you can binge watch like it's 1999 with a new VHS combo. Now, I will correct Retro Dodo here, who are the source of this article we're reading. They're calling this a Retro CRT with modern touches, but they're not right there, are they, Ravi?
No, I've seen this reported everywhere as a CRT, and there's no tubes in there. It's a shell of one of these kind of later in the era, actually. I know, they're saying 1999 in the adverts. This isn't like your traditional CRT. This was one of those VHS combo players, which...
to be very posh to have one of them in your bedroom. I bet Joe did.
I don't know. I always regarded them as a bit cheap. I think
I was
if you
poor.
had
I had one, but from like Asda.
Argos or something. Yeah.
Argos one, yeah.
Yeah, the combos. And the problem with these was the TV would break or the VHS would break, and then you'd have issues.
Useless.
But what this is it's the open kind of model of it with an LCD screen in there and some modern things. But it's definitely not a CRT.
No, despite all the reporting now. This is, if you look on Instagram, retrobox.tv, there's a short video there kind of showing the process of making this. And they're doing this in a bunch of different colours. You got, there's 7 different colours by the looks of it, ranging from bright pink to green, blue. There's like a turquoise kind of one, a red one that is kind of up in front on their marketing at the moment. I think the big story here is it is kind of like those combi TVs that we had in our bedrooms. The traditional like 14-inch tellies with a built-in video recorder. Later on got replaced by DVD players in those, didn't they? But this one, the big story is that it has a fully functioning VCR and will play your old videotapes. So I think that's kind of cool to have a new VHS video recorder. That could be a selling point.
But before I get into the questions, what do you think about this, Joe?
I think it's cool. When I saw it, I just, because of the article saying it was CRT, I assumed it was CRT, and I was like, oh, that's wicked, having like a VHS player, CRT. I'm surprised this hasn't been done sooner, kind of like British staple of like the late 90s, early 2000s, like bedrooms. Jokes aside, yes, I had one of these and it was a Bush one from Argos. But then I saw the price point and I was like, oh, that's expensive. They're $400. And to be fair, they're sold out. They're completely sold out in every colour. The only thing that you can buy is it looks like you can get the RetroBox VHS bundle still, which looks like it just comes with the silver TV with a few VHS tapes. That's the only product that doesn't seem to be sold out on the website. But then when you guys told me that it isn't actually a CRT TV, and it is just a modern screen, essentially in a shell with it has a VHS player. I guess that is the selling point is the look of it and the fact that it has a VHS player.
Yeah, the difference with VHS, I think, that's interesting because there is a bit of a VHS revival going on at the moment. Yeah. But interestingly, looking at the Instagram, the way that this looks like it's done is something that concerns me a little bit. It looks like they've got like RCA and Toshiba TVs. They're just taking them apart, removing the CRT, putting an LCD in. They've got the original components of the VHS player there, and then like a conversion board on there that's kind of working, which gives it the ability to have all these different inputs as well. But then also which I think is pretty cool, is you've got HDMI out as well. So maybe if you wanted to use this just to convert VHS videos, it might be a good way of doing that and capturing the output. But, you know, using that original case makes me think these are kind of resprayed or something like that, and then manually going through, because all those components for the VHS player probably come from these original machines.
So you don't think these are new then? Instagram. You think these are just... Well, okay, I assume these were like brand new kind of
just
shells.
On the Instagram video that they've got, it's got like old VHS components and then a board stuck in there. And an obvious space where the CRT would be. And I think there might be limited numbers. But then also, another thing is, if it is an LCD screen, why is it only limited to 240p and 480i?
I thought VHS was really, wasn't it, really? You're not
it a cheaper one, though? Yeah, but you should be able to like upscale it if you've got different inputs or, you know, run it in a higher resolution. And... yeah, I just think it's a bit of a weird one, and also they all seem to be listed as just NTSC as well on the site, which you know, obviously we're in the PAL region, so I don't know, would our PAL VHSs work?
No, they'll go off flickery probably, unless there's some magic in there to convert them. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool looking thing. I mean, the fact that they're sold out everywhere. I mean, we don't know how many of these they made. I'm not too sure on the process of how they've done it. Yeah.
That's what I think. If they're doing it themselves and just putting them together, there might be like 10, and you know they've sold like those and then sold out.
Yeah,
you know?
There's just one of each colour.
Yeah. I mean, the price. The thing is, I've got one of these in my studio. Not one with a VHS. I've got a DVD one that I use. I got my N64 set up on it as well. I got that from Facebook Marketplace about 2 years ago for 15 quid.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're like 10 a penny, aren't they, for these kind of combo ones? Yeah.
And the thing is, they are going to get harder to find. And I've already heard of people in certain places that CRTs are becoming a lot scarcer than they were even 2 or 3 years ago. So I get that there is, you know, there's probably, I mean, there will be a time, maybe not in our lifetime, but when they do completely dry up and run out and you can't get hold of them anymore and prices are going to start to rise, which might be happening already. So I see that, you know, for people who want that kind of look, maybe having a replacement that kind of gives you some of that experience would be a good thing. I mean, they are saying that they don't really go into much detail, but apparently there is a jiggery pokery in there to emulate that CRT look, which whether that's kind of scanline filter, I imagine.
I think someone who's into like collecting obscure horror VHS movies and wants to have something like this in their room, but also be able to archive them as well or something and play some games on it. I don't know, maybe it will hit that. And yeah, 297. Like some CRTs and stuff that I'm seeing at the moment are hitting 400 quid just for the original.
Really? Wow.
So it all depends on you know which model it is and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it doesn't seem massively expensive for me. I know it's quite a high price tag, but
just because you could get the original for like so much cheaper.
Yeah, look at something like the Checkmate monitor as well. And
I can imagine
compare prices.
Yeah, this doesn't look anywhere near as fully featured as that, does it? There's quite a few inputs on there as well,
but quite a few inputs, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically an emulation of those old machines that we had in our bedroom. Really, it's not a new CRT. But again, if you want to kind of that's the thing. I'd like to know a bit more about kind of the internal mechanism of this. If they have just took apart 30-year-old TVs and reused the video components, that then would concern me. If it was a brand new system,
building a whole new VHS player, and
that's what I assumed it was
in
at first.
Which is quite a task for that amount of money.
Yeah, which if it was that, then I think, I can see the appeal. If it is reused parts, then maybe not. So one that we'll keep an eye on, and we're quite light on details at the moment, but obviously there's a market for it. They're selling out already, so if you want to check that out, I'll link that in this week's show notes. Now, another RPG game. Seems like we've seen a lot of these recently. They're saying this one could be mistaken for a lost PlayStation 2 classic. This is a game called Belle's Fanfare.
I really like the look of this. I think the aesthetic of it is very much kind of like, late 6th gen, PS2, GameCube, Xbox, and I think it's very much kind of like Zelda meets Kingdom Hearts in terms of the look of it and the style of it. This is coming to Kickstarter. Launches on the 3rd of February, and it's going to be coming out on Switch 2, Steam, Xbox, PlayStation. I really like the concept, the style of this game, the style of it. Like I just said, I think it looks really, really nice. But what I like about it is by looks of things, it's an RPG with random encounters. So when you start a fight, rather than it being like, an action RPG or you use your magic or your attacks or turn-based, it is action style, but it's a bullet hell style game. So not for Dan. I'll get that out there straight away.
I'm already feeling nervous.
But the fight will start, and basically it then kind of turns into not a shmup, because you still kind of have like your arena, but the enemies, they will shoot bullets and laser beams at you and stuff. They're magic attacks, because the game isn't like, it's the kind of like stylization of the game is very Zelda, very kind of like medievally, kind of like with magic and swords and stuff. But you have to jump over and roll out the way and stuff of like all the attacks that are coming at you, and then get your attacks in. And there might be games like that out there, but I don't think I've ever seen those kind of genres cross over before.
Yeah.
Kind of like bullet hell meets RPG, but kind of like 2005 version of an RPG. I really, really like the look of this, and I hope it does well. Very kind of like, I don't want to say Dark Souls, probably more like Zelda, but lots of rolling out of the way, etc. And then just the style of the game, very whimsical.
It looks, the scale impresses me. I think some of the I don't know, bosses or characters in it look gigantic, and at some point you're tiny in a in a kind of room. Like that scaling really makes it seem epic.
Yeah. It's definitely. I think I've said it like 3 times now, but it really, really has captured the essence, the kind of life of that. That genre, that era of games, before everything went brown and was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it was the last.
When it had a bit of colour, yeah.
Yeah, it is the last of like the old colour. I know colours come back now and everything, but, it definitely looks like if you showed me this and just said, oh yeah, it came out on the GameCube in 2006, it was a really late release, I'd be like, oh man, I can't believe I've not heard of this.
It's got the glowing, right, and the kind of the lighting and colour atmosphere, but also it doesn't look kind of dirty and foggy and like some of them did.
Yeah. You put it better than I did there. So they've kept the story under wraps at the moment. It just mentions that, the character you play as, Belle, is a demon-like character. So you're like a little red demon, but you're a girl. So you've kind of got like a little... You look like a bit of a worker. You've got a bit of like an overalls on, and you've got like a little bit of a headscarf on, as if you'd been cleaning or something like that. But you're like a little devil demon, and it's set on a ship, on a luxury ship, and basically the Witch of the Sea has taken over the ship by the looks of things. And I've got a feeling, how you just said about the grand scale of it and stuff. From the level design, you do look in some of the levels. You look tiny, don't you, Ravi?
Yeah.
And you're in a ginormous kitchen. You're running around
like the Borrowers or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know if the whole game's like that or if it's just certain areas. But yeah, no, it looks really interesting. I'm gonna save this and have a look at it.
Yeah, it's launching on the 3rd of February, Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's coming out for Switch, Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation, which is pretty cool.
We often hear about these, and they kind of say, like a PS1 or N64 style, and you always look at them and you think like, oh, they look a bit, they don't really look like that era appropriate. They look a bit too good. This one though, like you said, Joe, if it had come out on like a Dreamcast or PS2 or something, it definitely does feel like it's from that era, from the trailer, which I think, they've done a really good job at capturing that look. So I bet this is going to be a smash on Kickstarter. The pre-launch page is live now if you want to sign up to get alerted when you can back that. Looks really cool. Belle's Fanfare, it's called. Now, a few more stories on the way. We're going to talk about turning your Commodore disk drive into a fully fledged computer. Pretty nuts, this story. And again, we had to literally drag Joe off to get him on the podcast this week to record. He's been playing it non-stop. A Dark Souls demake that you can play in your browser. That actually is pretty cool. So they're on the way in just a minute. Now, before we do that, let's take a moment to welcome on a brand new sponsor, and this is our wonderful friends at Surfshark. Now, if you're not familiar with Surfshark, they are, in our opinion, the best VPN service. Now, you might be thinking, do I need a VPN? I mean, a VPN it's having protection when you go online. I don't know about you guys. Do you ever get served adverts for things and you think they're just a little bit too specific?
All the time. Yeah, definitely.
I know a bit too much about
it's usually something I've purchased as well. So it'll be like, I bought a bag, and it'll be like, do you want more bags? And I'm like, no.
I'll get it from messages I've sent to my wife. Suddenly I'll get adverts for it. Even, without putting the tinfoil hat on here, sometimes I get served things that I've just had conversations with people about. And I'm thinking, hang on, has my phone heard that? Or one of my smart speakers? You never know. I mean, they say they don't, but the thing about it is you're getting tracked whenever you go online at the moment. But having a VPN basically means that all your activity is encrypted and private, hidden from trackers and snoopers and data brokers who want all of your information to basically spam you with advertising. And even there's been cases in America of like ISPs selling you data to advertising companies as well. So having a VPN basically protects you from all that. And Surfshark is, we've used many in the past, Ravi, haven't we? Absolutely the best that we've used. I mean, you've been using it for a couple of months now. I mean, the first thing you mentioned to me is just how quick it is.
Yeah, so I've used lots of VPNs, and the protocols that they use, some can be slower. And Surfshark uses WireGuard, which I just love. A really fast protocol as well, and tons of locations. But also, it's got a no logs policy, which I think is great. No information's saved or anything like that, and you're not tracked or monitored on there.
One thing I love about it as well is having a VPN that is as quick as Surfshark means that you can leave it on, because it's basically one subscription covers all your devices. So there are other VPNs where even if you want to have your phone, you've got to pay more, for example. Surfshark, it covers your smartphones, so your whole family can use it. Covers your smart TVs, your consoles, your laptop, your desktops. So one subscription covers it all. And with it being so quick, you don't even notice it's there running in the background, protecting you. But one thing I love about it as well is it unlocks content that otherwise, this is an increasing problem, I think. At the risk of getting political, definitely don't want to do that. But here in the UK, we've got a thing recently they introduced called the Online Safety Act, which means that anything they kind of classify as what they think is adult content, they want users to prove who they are. And I've run into this on sites that are definitely, in my opinion, not adult content. Going on just going on Reddit sometimes. Gaming forums and stuff sometimes ask me for it. People have reported trying to go on Twitter and, it comes up, please take a selfie to prove who you are. And the inevitable stories come out about, these websites that ask for your selfies getting hacked. Obviously not a good thing. So I've got Surfshark on my phone. I just set my location to Ireland. Gets me around all that, so no stress, no hassle. Don't have to worry about any of that kind of thing. But also unlocking content as well by changing your location, I think is really cool. I mean, it's been freezing cold here in the UK recently. Apparently more snow on the way. You might have rinsed your entire Netflix library. Well, Surfshark has got 4,500 servers in over 100 countries around the world. So what you can do with Netflix is, change your location to America on Surfshark, unlocks a whole new library that you haven't got access to in your country. So, you can be Australia, Canada, the shows that are literally locked down to certain regions that now are unlocked to you as well. So it is worth it just for that to unlock your content as well. So we highly recommend Surfshark. We've been using them for a couple of months now. And if you haven't got a VPN service, it's more and more important each day that you get one. So why don't you give them a try? Because we've got you an amazing offer. So it's completely risk-free. They've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, if you use our exclusive link, which is head to surfshark.com/retrohour, or you can use the code retrohour, all one word, at checkout, and you'll make a massive saving. You'll get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN at checkout. So an incredible offer, and they've got loads of add-ons as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got some really good add-ons as well. So they've got one which can protect your ID with an alternative ID, which I think is really cool because, signing up to newsletters or even having a different social media account, it's really useful for that. But they've also got an alternative phone number as well you can have as an add-on, which is amazing. You can answer phone calls through the app. All of this is great privacy security, as well as a Surfshark search, so you can look up any of your data or information and see if that's been leaked.
Yeah, basically protects you. You don't have to think about it, let it do all the work for you. It's basically like having a virtual bouncer, isn't it, looking after all your information online. So head to our link, give them a try. Like we said, you'll make a great saving there as well for extra months of Surfshark VPN at checkout by using our exclusive link just for you, surfshark.com/retrohour. That'll be in the show notes, surfshark.com/retrohour. And a massive thank you to our friends at Surfshark VPN for their support of the show. Now, this story kind of blew my mind a little bit. This is from my good mate, Dave McMurtry, who I hosted a few panels with last year at VCF East when I went over to New Jersey. You might have seen the video. We ran it on the podcast as well, didn't we? When I did that Commodore 40th anniversary, hosted that panel with Dave. I'm going back out there in a few months as well, so looking forward to catching up with Dave and the crew out there. But he's a massive Commodore fan, and he actually runs, you're probably in there, Ravi, the Commodore Historical Society Facebook group.
Yes, yeah. I've seen his collection. It looks bonkers. A huge Commodore fan. This story isn't for Joe.
Yeah, Joe can have a little snooze while we talk.
I'm going to have a little, I was about to say,
a little lie down for a bit. But, I mean, are you familiar with the Commodore 1541 floppy disk drive, Ravi?
I am.
I'm not
familiar with it.
I'll be quiet now.
It's your next birthday present, Joe. I'm familiar with its legendary status, and I had a 1541 emulator that was like a little Raspberry Pi hat that you stuck on a Raspberry Pi, emulated it. You could put an SD card in there and have images and load up stuff pretty fast on that.
Yeah, now, the Commodore 1541 was a legendary 5¼ floppy disk drive. It does say in this article that I'll link in the show notes, and that was the way that we all loaded our software back in the day. That was true in America, not so much here. In the UK, it was a bit slower. We generally used the Commodore data set, which I've got one in my hand here because I've had it on my new Commodore 64 Ultimate recently. But obviously, the floppy disk drive was the way that if you wanted to load software a bit quicker on your Commodore 64, that was a way to do it. Very expensive as well. I remember when they came out, they're about the same price as a computer back in the day. Yeah. But the reason for that was that the 1541 floppy drive is basically a whole computer in itself.
I never knew it went this far, because I've always regarded Commodore as cheaping out on things, and seeing that this had a 6502 in there, that's pretty cool. And, thinking about, right, can I actually get this floppy drive to do some computer tasks and do some things is interesting. And seeing what Dave's actually done, he's put Commodore's first computer firmware, the Kim 1, onto there, which is really cool to see. Actually, it's a nice little kind of legacy connection there, and he seems to be running some basic kind of responses and text stuff on there.
Yeah, so, basically inside, like you said, it's got the 6502 processor that the VIC-20 used. It's got the 6522 VIA chips in there. The 1541 floppy drive's got onboard RAM and ROM. The only thing it's missing, really, is it doesn't have a video, sound, or a keyboard interface. So you can actually change the ROM on the 1541, like people used to do fast loads, Jiffy DOS you might have heard of. People used to change the ROM chips in there to load games and stuff faster. So what he's done, basically, as you said, Ravi, the Kim 1, which was MOS technology and Commodore's kind of first single board computer that they released back in 1976, he's basically burned a modified Kim 1 kernel onto a custom EEPROM and put it into the drive. And then he's made a serial cable, and he's hooked this up to a modern laptop, and basically he's dialing into it, using it as a terminal, essentially, and running software on that.
I was just wondering, does the disk drive still work?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it still functions. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So maybe in the future, I'm just thinking, could you have this to do like side loading, like little tasks and stuff onto the C64 as it develops? Just chugging away at the side, the coprocessor.
Well, he's even got Tiny Basic as well in one of the ROM slots on there, so he can actually write and run basic programs on the disk drive itself. So he does, which is infamous
because that was Bill Gates in the Homebrew Computer Club when he sent that letter out about Tiny Basic, saying, you're stealing my product.
Well, I hope Dave doesn't get a cease and desist from Microsoft over this.
Maybe delayed letter.
That is what I think. The fact that basically anything you could do on like a Kim 1, which obviously is quite limited, but now you can basically do on the 1541. It turns it into a functioning standalone 6502-based computer, which I think is kind of nuts.
It takes an imaginative mind to kind of think like, oh, I'm going to go down this route. So well done, Dave. Yeah, I think that's a great little find there.
Yeah, next time I have like a long train journey somewhere, just slap my 1541 down on the table on the train, a little laptop. That's my computer, that is. I'm doing stuff on it. I'm computing.
Dad, who's this crazy guy in the corner?
So, great video, though. So, top work, Dave. If you want to check that out, I'll link that in the show notes as well. Now, while we've been talking about that, I know what Joe's been doing. I'm sure I heard some of the sound effects there from this game that you can play online. Your wife's going to have to drag you off this later on, Joe. You're getting a bit too obsessed.
I played it for like 5 minutes this morning.
Whatever. You'll be playing it more, though, because this looks pretty cool. I was playing it at the same time, Joe, not just you. This is a Dark Souls demake. I only took the programmer a week to make. That you can play. It's from Weird Bit Games. You can play this completely in your web browser, and it is pretty addictive.
Yeah, so this is Bit Souls Demastered, which, as you say, was made in 7 days for a game jam. So it's the first brainless mini game jam, which requires entrances to create a small yet polished game in 7 days. Which is what we ended up with Bit Souls Demastered. And it's been created by RetroBox Productions and Weird Bit Games together. The polish on it is fantastic. So it is a 8-bit style 2D, action platformer of Dark Souls. Obviously, it's not called Dark Souls because we can't. It isn't. It's a Souls game. But it's I'm a big Dark Souls fan, and in the 5-10 minutes that I was playing it, I got to the first boss, and it's an exact recreation of the start of Dark Souls. You can't pick your character or anything like that. You are just a knight, and you use ASWD to walk around, and then you use the arrow keys to kind of slash with your sword and stuff, and you're fighting skeletons, and then you come across the I forget what the name of it is, oh man, I'm a big fan of Dark Souls. I can't remember what it's called now. The gargoyle at the start of the game, the first boss, which is where I got to. I think Dan got to the first enemy and died.
Yep, obviously.
Which is fine. It's a Dark Souls game. It's fine. But graphically, I think it looks great. It's very reminiscent of Shovel Knight for me. But,
it's got the Shovel Knight Spectrum kind of vibe as well.
It reminded me of like Finders Keepers, like the Magic Knight kind of games. The look of it,
yeah. So it's black and white, but with like minimal bits of color. So the swords and the shields are kind of like those classic blues and reds that you would see on the Spectrum. Whether that was what he was going for, I'm not too sure, but I think it works really well. And for it to have only been made in 7 days is fantastic. I want to play it again. I want to see how long the game is.
Yeah.
If it's just a case of like, it's kind of like the first dungeon. I think it's called the Undead Borg, I think, in the original Dark Souls. I've got a feeling it might just be, the first part of Dark Souls is this huge, massive game. So I can only imagine, it might be 10 minutes long or something, but I'm definitely going to revisit it, but completely playable in your browser. Which is nice and easy, which is why I was managing to play it. But it is tough, I must admit. His first couple of skeletons, they don't take 1 or 2 hits. They take a good, 20 hits to kill. And you're there blocking. It's got full blocking and parrying in there, just like in Dark Souls as well. So, some of the mechanics have made it over. And you've got your healing potions, and it looks like there might be a few other items that you can find in the game. I also found a bonfire, for those who don't know. Basically, your checkpoints in the game. So, most of what is there in Dark Souls is present, but in this 2D action platformer version, which I think is very cool. So, don't know what else other games have come out of this brainless mini game jam. But, just from playing this, I hope it wins.
Yeah.
That's all I would say.
There's a bunch of sound effects as well. Street Fighter 2, Final Fantasy 7, Wonder Boy that are kind of stolen in there, which I think is quite cool. What do you think, Ravi?
I think this is a great example of why game jams are important and a great kind of success. It seems to be nicely done. It's fun. Very nice aesthetic. Amazed that this stuff can kind of run in a browser now.
Yeah.
Just with no problem on whatever system. I know Joe was lagging earlier and he still managed to get it.
It's probably because I was playing NES.
Joe still runs on a 386, I remember. He's,
I just need to give this a go. Let's see if I can beat you boys.
Oh, you'll beat me. That's about 10 seconds. So, if you want to play it, like I said, completely free, play it in your browser, I'll link that in the show notes as well. Now, this next story, I'm going to bring back some bad memories for me, actually. I just got really angry reading about this. Now, this is a legendary arcade game. Now, first of all, let's get the pronunciation out of the way. As a kid, I always called this Yie Ar Kung-Fu. I think it's Yie Ar Kung-Fu, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which, if
I
you haven't played
thought E except after C.
well, I mean, it's a Japanese game, so I imagine there's, obviously translation there. If you haven't played it, they're saying in this article on Retro Dodo, one of the most influential arcade games that helped shape the fighting genre. Came out in Japan in October 1984, rest of the world 1985. Now, I had this when I was a kid on the Commodore Plus/4, and I loved this game. If you haven't played it, it's a single screen, kind of versus fighting game. Very basic, but you've got to remember the hardware that this was running on. The Plus/4 version, I remember that there's one level where you fight a woman who she's basically meant to throw throwing stars at you, and the star is the asterisk symbol on the keyboard. It was a very basic port. But I enjoyed that game. And then I got really sick one Christmas, probably Christmas 89, this would have been on 90. And I remember being off school, and a friend of mine had come over because I was playing Yie Ar Kung-Fu. My friend, Carl Nash, his name is. I'm going to name and shame him right now. And he said, I brought you a few games over if you want to borrow a couple, while you're sick. Is there any chance I can have a borrow of Yie Ar Kung-Fu? Oh, yeah, you know how much I love that game, though. Like, okay, I'll give it to you. I want it back when, next week when I'm back at school. He took it. Then he moved house. Stole my copy of Yie Ar Kung-Fu.
I've still got people that owe me tapes from years ago that I'm still bitter about.
If Carl Nash is watching, one day I'll find you.
Got it
we'll
back
call them all out.
So that's not the story anyway. The other side. Yeah. But now it turns out I could actually play this on my Sega Mega Drive. It's got a pretty decent port.
I don't think I want to play it.
No.
I've seen this game. I've never seen it in the arcade, but I've seen it on like documentaries about like the history of fighting games or influential games to Street Fighter and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure I've seen something about how this influenced or helped influence the original Street Fighter game. That obviously then led on to Street Fighter 2. So I've seen some arguments that without this, we wouldn't have the kind of like the modern fighting game. It looks tough.
It is very tough.
It looks really tough. But it looks like it would run on the Mega Drive quite easily. As you pointed out, it came out in the arcades in 1984. So I can't imagine it's pushing the Mega Drive too hard. The sprites look all right, but the backgrounds look pretty basic. And as you say, they are, kind of one screen levels, with no kind of like movement or anything, very minimal movement in the background, maybe the odd waterfall, But yeah, are you going to be running out to get this one, Dan? As a big, Yie Ar Kung-Fu fan?
I mean, I will admit it has been 30 odd years since I played it. It might not have held up quite as well in my mind. But this is a developer called Andre Azevedo. Sorry if I butchered your name. Who's currently porting this using the SGDK, the Sega Genesis Development Kit, to port the arcade version of the game to the Mega Drive. Now, he said it's still a work in progress. There's a load of bugs that still need to be ironed out. But the good thing is he shared it out there. The build is available for everyone to download, so you can basically help him beta test it and have a lot of play and squash any potential problems, which I think is quite cool.
I'm not familiar with it at all. I've never played it. Maybe I'll have the opportunity now. I IK Man, International
I'd love it if
Karate.
Ravi was
That
like,
was it.
I'd love it if Ravi was like, yeah, I've got a mate called Carl Nash who lent it me.
Yeah.
Get out. Give me his number right now.
Sold it on eBay.
I might still check eBay to say I used to initial all my games, with biros in case people nicked them. Didn't help me that time though.
I was going to say it didn't help, did it?
So anyway, my trauma aside, I do think this is very cool. I mean, often, we did talk earlier on in the podcast about Mario 64 coming to the Dreamcast, which was a very ambitious port. As you mentioned, Joe, this is like an 8-bit game that is porting over to the Mega Drive. But I think when games like this didn't exist previously on the platform, it's nice, for basically completion's sake, isn't it, to have a port of it, an arcade classic on the Mega Drive.
Reminds me of like Double Dragon,
Yeah.
the kind of graphics style of it as well.
Very that era, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that is available now if you want to get the beta version of that for free, of course. So I'll link that and all the rest of the stories in this week's show notes. Big one this weekend then, Sunday night. It's going to be Patron's Hangout, first one of 2026. Now, it's been quite a while since we did a normal Patron's Hangout. We had our Christmas party, didn't we, last month? Which we did a bit early, actually. So it's been about 6 weeks since we did a Patron's Hangout. Definitely lots to talk about. If you haven't joined us for one before, basically a massive Zoom call. We invite all our patrons. We all get on, geek out, going to show off our pickups. A lot of problem solving as well on the Hangouts, isn't there? People are like, well, I've got this game, how does this work? Or I've just got this new computer, I want to find this for it. It's a real hive of information that I've kind of described it before as like a virtual users group, which it absolutely is. So if you want to get an invite to the Hangout that is coming up this weekend, we do last Sunday of the month, going to be happening Sunday 25th of January from 8 p.m. UK time. Not the only perk that you get for being a patron as well, though. We do an extra podcast called The Retro Hour After Hours. You might have got the free little preview I put out at the start of the month. I'm going to be recording another one of those this month as well. And actually, if you sign up right now, you'll unlock 50 previous episodes of that. If you join as a gold member or above, you get an ad-free podcast each week, and we're about to do a couple of extra news stories for the patrons as well, so we chop all the ads out. So a really good time to join us. And if you want to head to the website, theretrohour.com, all the details are on there. We've got some new patrons to welcome in and induct them into the most prestigious high score table in the world of retro gaming, which is, of course, the Retro Hour Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
The jingle's back. Let's welcome in our first one. That is Matt's son. Who's next, Revy?
Synth Monkey.
Ed T.
Matt Childs and Mike Organs, who all joined us over the last week or so. We massively appreciate your support, and all the details to join our wonderful patrons community are at theretrohour.com. All right, everyone else got an advert playing right now, but let's do a couple of quick extra stories then to wind the show up just for our patrons in overtime. What's tickling your fancy then, Joe?
I'm going to go for the Lego one.
Ooh.
I think Nintendo, they're just going for it with Lego now. I remember, God, I know we've been milking it a little bit, 10 years of the podcast, but I remember 10 years ago us covering like rumors that, there was going to be a Zelda Lego or there's going to be a Nintendo Lego. And now we've got loads of Mario Lego. We've had Zelda Lego. We had the Great Deku Tree a couple of years ago that we covered. I got for Christmas right here, for those who are on video, the Game Boy that I need to get cracking on with.
How many pieces is that?
500 and something, I think.
Were you a Lego man?
That's not bad.
Were you a Lego man back in the days, Joe?
I was.
Or a Lego child, a Lego boy. That would be
Completely made of Lego.
Yeah, I was made of Lego. They found me in a factory, and I wanted to be a real boy. The blue fairy turned me into a boy. I was. I never had lots of sets. I just, when we were kids, do you remember? I say this to my wife. You just have a big bucket of Lego.
A tub, yeah.
You just have a big tub of it.
They're all from different sets as well, weren't they? Yeah. They were nothing matched.
Yeah, nothing matched. I had a big red bucket of Lego as a kid and just made my own stuff with it. And then I think I might have got one or two Star Wars sets as a teenager.
I think it's really interesting that it's kicked off because we're in Nottingham. Warhammer's a very physical thing that people love to play with. I think they're reporting it's like £8 or £9 billion worth industry at the moment. Lego is a massive thing, and all these tie-ins with video game stuff and everything. I think people are searching this physicality and playing with stuff again. And
100%. Well, I mean,
you
my
know,
wife,
even though it's screen themed, it's getting away from the screens as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, whenever I do a Lego set, which is usually after Christmas, because I usually get something for Christmas. I think you can see there. If you're on video, I've got the piranha plant from Mario, which my sister, it's my sister-in-law who gets me them. She always gets me cool presents. She got me the Lego piranha plant last year, and I made it, and it's there in the background. She got me the Game Boy this year. My wife asked for Creel House from Stranger Things Lego set for our anniversary, our wedding anniversary, and she was like, "Oh, if we get it, then I'll pay you half, and it could be our wedding anniversary," because it was like 250 quid. I don't think I'm ever seeing half of that, but I bought it.
Your wife is so much cooler than mine. Mine wanted an air fryer.
Oh wow! So we're planning on building that in a few months when it comes, because I got it on
a Lego air fryer.
A Lego air fryer. But that's not what the story is to talk about Lego. We are going to talk about there's another Zelda Lego set coming out. So about a week or two ago, Lego announced a load of Pokemon sets, and they're like $500, which is just insane. But Nintendo have continued to license out more characters, and this is the final battle of Ocarina of Time. So when Link fights Ganon, the giant pig version of Ganon from Ocarina of Time, at the end there, it's more of a kind of like a diorama set, you know, that you kind of build, and it's got like a little kind of like base that you put it on, and then, you know, it's more of a feature, so you'd build it and then it'll go on a shelf rather than kind of like playing with it. I'm sure it won't stop people. But I just thought it was a cool point, you know, that, like I say, 10 years ago, it was all these kind of like fake mock-ups of like, you know, Zelda Lego and stuff. And now it's real. It's all here. So this is going to be 1,003 pieces.
Wow.
A little bit more affordable than the Pokemon ones. This one's going to be £100 or $100. And it will be shipping. So it's already up for pre-order, and it ships on the 1st of March, 2026. Obviously it comes with the pig version of Ganon, as well as a minifigure of Link, minifigure of Zelda, and also a minifigure of Ganondorf when he's in his kind of, if you want to call him human form, as well as a minifigure of I think her name's Navi. I've not played Zelda in a long time. Ocarina of Time. Navi, the little
fairy.
Yeah. What's next, Joe? Because at the moment I'm seeing they've done the Lego consoles. They've got from Nintendo. They've got Zelda. They've got Mario Lego, Animal Crossing. What series do you predict is next?
I don't know. So with Sega, they've done loads of Sonic. They've done loads and loads of Sonic sets, which are cool. You can actually get a lot of Sonic 2 inspired stuff now, which is cool. They did the Mega Drive controller, but I don't think they've actually done a Lego Mega Drive.
Game Gear, maybe a Lego Game
Gear would be cool. That would be very cool. I don't think the Game Gear's got the kind of like pop culture fame as the Game Boy.
I think maybe for some reason, I think Mega Man seems to be like something.
That's Capcom.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on Nintendo consoles. I think a GameCube would be pretty cool to do as a Lego. You know, obviously SNES and N64 would be cool, but I think a GameCube would make a good Lego set. I know it's not cute because it is a square and it's a block.
It's cute.
Easy to make.
It's easy to make, but I think it'd be cool if it actually, like, you know, because they always have these gimmicks in them, like in the Game Boy one, you know, that we covered. Like I said, I've got it right here. It comes with the cartridges and you can change what it displays on the screen. On the NES one, you cranked the TV and Mario ran across the TV. So I think, you know, if it did a GameCube one or something, just having, you know, like the disc.
Have they done Mario Kart? Mario Kart Lego?
Ooh.
That could be a next.
I think they have. I'm not too sure. But there's so much of it now. And I think that was just kind of like what I wanted to say, you know, and it's cool to see. It's not cheap. It's never cheap. Like I say, these Pokemon sets have come out 500 quid. I think this Game Boy set was £100, but I think they got it in Black Friday. My sister-in-law did for like 50 quid, which is very cool. But yeah, I've got the Stranger Things Lego on its way coming to me. Resident Evil Lego. That's what I'd like to see. I know it's not Nintendo or anything like that.
I want some Bubsy Lego. Make it happen.
Bubsy Lego.
Six foot tall Bubsy.
Zool Lego. That's what I
Zool
want.
Lego, just really obscure. Yie Ar Kung-Fu Lego. That's what we need.
With Carl Nash next to it going,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to have nightmares tonight. So, yeah, that's all for pre-order right now. Last one of the show then, Ravi. Last couple of minutes. What are we finishing with?
So this is the largest video game prototype collection ever is going up for sale, which is really interesting to see. I don't like that it's going into private hands. I'd love to see a museum get hold of this. This is obviously someone who's gone up and collected, it's not that large, 27 prototype games. I guess there's it's been titled as a hidden treasures collection, and it's very much pushed in the kind of collectible market area. There's some pretty cool games in there, to be fair, for the prototype. Tasmania, you've got Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which is very relevant at the moment. There's Rampart, quite a few good titles in there. I don't know how many others of the prototypes exist as well, so it's just the only one, it's just the first version, but what the person who's selling this seems to have done is got them water graded as well to get the maximum price out of it.
Battletoads on there as well.
Yeah, which is interesting because they're talking about PSA are going to start doing game grading as well, and PSA, as you guys probably know, they do all the baseball cards. They've been doing them since like back in the days, and they're the bigger grading authority. So that's going to be interesting to see a Whataverse PSA and this kind of fight breakout. It's also on this bidding site called Insert Bid,
which apparently is a new one, isn't it? It's for retro collectibles. It's like, this whole article does feel a bit like an advert for it, doesn't it? Really, if I'm honest,
it does scream to me kind of money making, out of a hobby here. Like these prototypes, I'd love to see them in a museum. Go in, see that version running, like have a bit of development history and background. And this does seem a bit like, My Precious Gollum kind of area. I wonder what price will come out of this. I'm sure there's going to be headlines like the hidden treasures found,
I think this is going to go one way or the other. It's either going to go for, it's not going to go for like the same as like what the Sony, Nintendo, the Nintendo PlayStation thing went for. But I think this is either going to go for not a lot, like $1,000, or it's going to go for, there's not going to be like a realistic in between. It's going to be like either $1,000 or $30,000 kind of thing. I think there's some big game titles in there, but there's nothing like, there's no Marios, there's no Sonics, there's nothing like super iconic. I would say the most iconic is Battletoads.
It seems like they've put a lot of stuff together to try to make it have gravitas, and get it graded.
Well, I can tell you a price of one of them. So I've been looking at Insert Bid because by the looks of this, it looks like they might have been listed individually rather than like a big collection.
Oh, okay. It makes it look like they've gone into the collection.
Again, as one.
Well, it says the auction began last week, so Sunday the 11th of January, exclusively to US bidders. Some of them I've searched for are not on there, so maybe they're releasing these kind of incrementally throughout the weeks.
Okay.
The Battletoads one, as you said, Ravi, water graded prototype. That one has been sold $1,250. It went for.
Okay.
Kind of feels like about what you'd expect for something very rare, I guess. That's very expensive for a video game, but so you'd have to have some serious cash, I think. But it looks like they might be releasing these individually throughout the weeks by the looks of it. So it's exclusive to US bidders.
It's all very console-y based as well, isn't it? So, and that kind of stuff goes down well there.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get lots of other Insert Bid stories suddenly appearing on the gaming blogs over the next few weeks by the sounds of it. So, so going to check that out, and all the rest of the stories, I'll put them in this week's show notes. Okay, thank you for checking out the news this week. More for you, of course, next Friday. And next, going inside the world of Rock Band with our special guest, Sean Baptiste, is next on the Retro Hour podcast.